Hey, English learners. Welcome back to the English Vibe podcast, your cozy little place to learn easy English through real everyday conversations. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jake. Okay, quick question before we even say hello properly. When was the last time you said yes to something you really, really did not want to do?
Oh, don't answer that. I already know. It was probably this week. Maybe today?
Yeah. And here's the strange part. You knew you didn't want to do it, and you said yes anyway. And then right after, that little heavy feeling showed up in your chest.
That's what we're talking about today. Saying no. And more specifically, saying no without drowning in guilt afterward.
Yes, because so many of us treat no like it's a bad word, like it's rude or selfish or going to make someone stop liking us.
But here's our promise for today. By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly why that guilt shows up, and you'll have real English phrases to say no with confidence, not coldness.
So let's start with the real question. Why does saying no feel so hard? Psychologists actually have an answer for this, and it's kind of fascinating. Our brains are wired for connection.
For most of human history, being rejected by your group didn't just feel bad. It could mean real danger. So even now, your brain treats disappointing someone like a tiny threat. That's why
Your heart speeds up a little before you say no to your boss or your friend or your mom. It's not weak, it's biology.
Right. And a lot of this pattern actually starts early. If you grew up being praised mostly for being helpful, agreeable, easy to deal with, your brain quietly learned a rule. Saying yes keeps you safe. Saying no might not.
And that rule doesn't just disappear when you become an adult.
No, it follows you into meetings, into friendships, into family group chats.
Especially family group chats.
Now, here's something that really changed how I think about this. Psychologists actually separate guilt into two different types. There's real guilt, and that's the kind you feel when you've actually done something wrong, something that needs repairing.
But then there's what they call false guilt, or sometimes neurotic guilt. And false guilt sounds like this. I failed to be everything to everyone, and somehow that's my fault.
That's such an important difference, because real guilt is asking you to fix something, but false guilt is just asking you to shrink.
Exactly. And most of the guilt we feel after saying no, it's false guilt. It's not evidence that you did something wrong. It's evidence that you value people.
Researchers who study this pattern actually found something interesting. The people who feel the most guilt about setting boundaries are usually the ones who care the most, who notice every mood shift, every sigh, every flicker of disappointment on someone's face.
So the guilt isn't proof you're selfish. It's kind of proof of the opposite.
Wow, I actually love that reframe.
Let's talk about what happens when this pattern runs unchecked for too long, because it doesn't just stay small.
No, it builds. There's real research connecting chronic people-pleasing to exhaustion, resentment, even burnout. People who consistently override their own limits to keep others comfortable report noticeably higher stress and lower life satisfaction than people who set clear boundaries.
And in workplaces specifically, this shows up constantly. More than half of workers today report feeling emotionally drained by the end of a normal day.
Which sounds dramatic, but honestly, doesn't it also sound familiar?
Painfully familiar. And here's the thing. Nobody wakes up one day and decides to be exhausted. It builds one small yes at a time. One extra task, one favor you didn't have energy for, one weekend plan you agreed to just to avoid an awkward conversation.
Right. And each yes feels small in the moment. But add them up over months, and suddenly you're living a life shaped by everyone's needs except your own.
So how do we actually change this? Here's where it gets practical. One shift that really helps is realizing that no is not rejection, it's redirection. When you say no to something that drains you, you are quietly saying yes to something that actually matters to you.
Yes, and that reframe takes the guilt out of it, because it's not about pushing someone away. It's about protecting your time and energy for the things that deserve it.
Another thing that helps, you don't need to over-explain. Complete sentences exist, and no is one of them. If you give 5 reasons and 3 apologies, it can actually sound like your decision is negotiable, even when it isn't.
So sometimes less really is more.
Exactly. A warm, clear no is more respectful than a long, nervous explanation. And here's something worth remembering. Most people respect a clear boundary. They might not say it out loud in the moment, but they usually do.
You're not the villain of the story. You're just someone learning to protect your own peace.
Let's bring this into English too, because this matters when you're speaking a second language. When you're not fully confident yet, it can feel even harder to say no. because you're already nervous about your grammar, your accent, your word choice. So sometimes people say yes just to avoid a longer, harder conversation.
Oh, that's so true.
But here's the good news. Saying no in English doesn't require perfect grammar. It just requires a few honest, simple phrases you can lean on. And that's exactly where we're headed next.
Let's build your no guilt vocabulary. First word, boundary. A boundary is a limit you set to protect your time, energy, or feelings. You can say, I'm setting a boundary around my weekends, or learning to say no is really about building healthy boundaries. Let's repeat it. Boundary, boundary.
Next is a really useful phrase. I can't commit to that. This is a polite, clear way to decline without over-explaining. For example, I can't commit to another project right now. Or, I'd love to help, but I can't commit to that this week. Repeat, I can't commit to that. I can't commit to that.
Next, let's look at the word overwhelmed. If you're overwhelmed, you have too much to handle at once. You can say, I'm feeling overwhelmed, so I need to say no for now. Or she realized she was overwhelmed and finally set a limit. Repeat, overwhelmed, overwhelmed.
And now a beautiful phrase. That doesn't work for me. It's direct but never rude. For example, that doesn't work for me this time. Or, I appreciate the offer, but that doesn't work for me. Repeat, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me.
And finally, let's end with the heart of today's episode, self-respect. Self-respect means valuing your own needs enough to protect them. You can say, saying no is an act of self-respect, or true self-respect means knowing when to say no. Repeat, self-respect, self-respect.
These phrases are small, but they carry real power.
Yes, and remember, you don't need to use all of them at once. Pick one, practice it, let it become natural. Little by little, your no will stop feeling like a fight and start feeling like peace.
And honestly, that peace is worth protecting. So this week, try one small thing. Say no to just one thing that's been quietly draining you. And notice how it feels.
Take care of your English.
And take care of your heart.
This is Anna.
And this is Jake. And you've been listening to the English Vibe podcast.
Bye.